Welcome to On Map, On Mission. My name is Scott Rogers. Today, I'm thrilled to bring to you two special guests as we talk about an obstacle to experiencing revival in our personal lives. That's spiritual arrogance. But spiritual humility is the thing that we're going to go after in this conversation. Come on, join us. Take a seat at the table. Well, hey, everybody. I've got two amazing guests. I don't even know if we'd call you guys guests. You're just family. You're probably going to be sitting at this table a million times.
We'll see.
I mean, there's no exaggeration here. It's just the truth. A million times.
That's a lot of podcasts.
Ashley, Neely, Floyd, Stubblefield. We're talking about living life as followers of Jesus, on map, on mission, wherever we are, we can live this out. And just want to have a conversation with you guys around your thoughts that we're having here at the Met Church and the season of just pursuing revival, right. Realizing it's really God who does that work. But if we can present ourselves to him and say, hey, God, we're willing, we're hungry for it. Will you do something in us and through us as a church? And probably have a lot of people who are listening who love each of you guys. I don't know if they love both of you, but they probably love, each of you some individually.
Maybe not equally.
Yeah. Floyd always thinks he's loved a little more. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the difference between spiritual arrogance and spiritual humility. But anyway, glad you guys are here.
Yeah, thanks for letting us be here.
It's going to be great.
So in this conversation we've had recently around just Jesus teaching in Luke 18, when he told this pretty provocative story about a Pharisee compared to a tax collector, the Pharisee being who in that time you'd actually think is very pious, very religious. Really, they are people who have a heart for God. So much of their lives is something to be desired, where the tax collector at that time was not just a federal employee, but someone who was really kind of sneaky and oppressive and, didn't do good for people. And Jesus tells this crazy story how the tax collector was actually more right with God than the Pharisee because of the way he came to God with humility. And the Pharisee seemed to come with arrogance. Just want to hear your thoughts around maybe how we each struggle with that, because that's a very human thing, and how do we cultivate humility at the same time? So whoever wants to jump in first, man, love to hear your initial thoughts.
I'm ladies first.
Oh, that's convenient.
I'm a gentleman.
Convenient. Honestly, for me, Scott, both of these two thoughts and ideas, I probably struggle with in different areas. So like just in my regular everyday life, like with friends and acquaintances and within work and things like that, I probably struggle more even with like maybe a false humility, right? Not being confident enough in who I am and what God's called me to do and how he's gifted me and equipped me and stuff like that. And probably the spiritual arrogance probably comes into play more so for me like at home. You know what I mean? Like where I can just, when your folks at your house, they get to see the best and the worst of you. And so I would say there's probably more times.
Not Floyd. I mean, he's always a saint.
Top of his game.
Wherever he goes.
Top of his game.
It's lonely at the top, guys.
Oh, yes, there it is. So I probably struggle more so with that spiritual arrogant side within those closest to me, those relationships.
Do you think it's possible, though, that, and I don't really know, I'm just wondering, that in our false humility, meaning kind of, oh, shucks, I'm not really all that God has kind of told me that I am or can be in him. And so I kind of play that up in insecurity and stuff. Is there a arrogance in that, though? Like,
I think that there is.
Because if I was awesome and God's good, but really I'm like, look how awesome I am.
I think the way it plays itself out for me in that false humility, in that insecurity, it's still me just focused on me.
Right?
Which is the pride part of it where, it's a really good thing to think on.
Yeah. Because in a way we're kind of trying to protect our image.
Yeah.
If we say, hey, I really stink at this, but I'm going to give it a shot, And if I do okay, then someone's going to go, man, you're great.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't think I was that good. Or if I don't do so good, you're like, I told you so. But we're trying to manage our image, and there's a little bit of arrogance in that.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
I don't know. Floyd, what are you thinking?
Oh, man. Part of the thing that stood out to me when you shared on Sunday, man, I just thought about how many times, go with me, Walmart self-checkout.
Oh.
I'm at the self-checkout, lady in front of me, she leaves a credit card in the machine, and I'm like, hey, man, my groceries bill is about $150 for like 3 days right now. And every part of me pulls the card out. I chase the lady down. I go back and I pay for my groceries. And I remember this was probably 3-4 years ago.
So this is a true story.
This is a true story. Pre-COVID, I do that. And I call my dad and I'm like, hey, Pops, never guess what happened. The lady in front of me left her card and I stopped what I was doing. I took her card and she was so grateful. It was an Amex. I mean, that thing was clinging if you dropped it on the ground. I was like, yeah, she would have never have known. This would have been paradise. And I remember he said, you want an award for doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like, so every part of me, when I read the parable, I'm hearing like, man, how many times have I done something where I'm keeping score of that? And I'm like, I want an award for this. Well, God, thank God I'm not like that, you know? So I struggle sometimes in that of wanting the attaboys, the spiritual attaboys, the spiritual pat on the back's like, oh, all right, I've done this, God. I paid my tithes this week. And
Isn't there a tension between our human need for affirmation?
Yes.
Oh, that's it.
But walking in humility at the same time, and like, you know, in the parable of Jesus, he talks about the Pharisee, and he does say he prays, like, you know, he looks down on other people and says, hey, God, I thank you, I'm not like other people, and that's pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
But he does mention things that aren't good.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm not an evildoer. I'm not an adulterer. I'm not this and that. And I fast twice a week and I tithe all that I get. And you're like, wasn't that in Scripture? Isn't
that's
that
what
a
you're
God
supposed to do.
thing?
You want an attaboy for that?
But to your point was like, it's almost like he started coming to God on that basis.
Yeah.
Like he's keeping track, keeping score of doing what God told him to do. And it's a tension.
And he even threw the tax collector under the bus because, you know, it says, and thank God I'm not a tax collector too, exclamation mark.
Yeah,
like I read it.
I'm not
like
like
you
that
pay
guy.
attention to the words in red, but words in red with an exclamation mark behind it, it's like, I need to highlight this. And he's like, thank God I'm not a tax collector. I was like, man, you did not have to throw that man under the bus like that. Like he didn't know that he was a tax collector.
Right.
You're just going to slide him right under the bus on that one.
So you do a great thing for this lady at Walmart, and you call your dad. And so are you saying you're like me in the sense of you're calling, trying to, you want to celebrate, hey, I did something good. But at the same time, you're waiting for that, man, you're amazing.
Yeah.
You're that pat on the back.
I wanted that. I wanted my dad to say, well, son, I'm proud of you. Like, yeah.
But doesn't every son want that?
Sure.
This gets blurry real fast.
You've done what I've taught you well, son.
Yeah.
And instead you want an award for doing what you're supposed to do? It's like, man, all right, but in the spiritual sense, I do it all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Like and I don't lie, God. I'm not a liar. I'm not a compulsive liar. I'm not a habitual thief. I'm not, an adulterer or a cheater. God, I do all these things I want. Give me a Hail Mary toss every now and then, God.
Right.
It's like, but I'm coming to you, God.
Don't you see how I'm living for you? Come on, man, come through for me.
I've read the commandments, and I'm pretty sure I have not scratched any of them off the list. God, I've done this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the tension for me.
Yeah.
That's the tough one. But
maybe it's in like the Pharisees' problem was he was keeping score.
Yeah.
That's what he was coming to God like, hey, God, I'm not coming to you because of your grace and your mercy and your goodness. I'm coming to you presenting myself and look at what I'm doing for you. It's just goes sideways real fast.
Yeah, and it's almost, it can happen and you don't even realize it.
oh my goodness.
I mean, because as believers, we want to do the right things. We want to do the things that will draw us closer to the Lord, right? We want to pray and we want to be in a relationship with God and read His Word and know His Word. And so you begin to form those habits, right? And we have these practices that we do in order to be in this relationship with God. And it just seems like every now and again it can just sneak up on you. Maybe when life's not going well, or when something didn't go right, or you thought you were going to get this spot, but you got this spot.
Yeah.
And then you start going, but hang on a second. I've been doing
been
all
doing
this
it, God.
stuff. So, you're
Yeah.
right. It's that tension of
Yeah.
doing the things in order to be in relationship with God, but recognizing when it slips into that, that spiritual arrogance.
So you're on a platform almost every weekend leading worship. And I mean, safe to say, with people in the room and online in front of a few thousand people, a couple of thousand people on a weekend. And it's kind of intimidating.
Very much so.
But do you ever struggle with, look at me, the spotlight's on me, and how do you keep yourself in check? Or is it not a struggle? Maybe it's really not for
You know what, Scott? It's very strange. I really don't struggle with it because I never really wanted it. Like, I enjoy being in the background.
Yeah.
Like, I can remember before I took this position, I would say, I'm a really good number 2. Like, I don't want to be the one in charge, but I'll be the one next to the one in charge that helps them get the things done that they want to get done, right? And so I've never strived to be in a position like this, which I guess I'm thankful for, because I don't really care for the spotlight. I don't really care for it at all. But for whatever reason, God's put me there, and I just keep showing up, and I just keep saying yes.
Do you think that comes with life experience, or was there something in the past that really?
Yeah, I don't know. I think some of it's maybe just my personality. But I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange.
I think because leading worship in the American church, I can't speak for globally, but there's this thing about, and it's probably true for preachers and stuff as well. Like I just saw a post on Instagram this morning of a musician who leads worship now and then, who's incredibly talented. I know him personally, just really talented, and someone posts like, so and so crushed it on Sunday, and it's that whole like cool rock star worship leader thing. That's I don't know. It's a thing that there's tension in that for me too. You want to be culturally relevant.
Yeah, that's good.
But at the same time, how do you walk in humility and deflecting any of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being affirmed in a healthy level, but deflecting that praise back to God in a very real way.
Well, and I do think, kind of to answer your question maybe a little bit, Scott, is because of kind of what I started with. Like, I do have more of the false humility. I have more of the insecurity and the not feeling competent and, not feeling skilled or educated or whatever the thing may be, which causes me to have some of that insecurity, right? That I'm not whoever it is you're speaking of that's touring the world and on all the stages and collaborating with all the, best worship leaders on the planet. But that's where I can get the other way. That's it causes me to not be confident in how God's gifted me and how He's wired me and the things that He's placed in my hands to steward, right? That's where I have to go, you know what, I am called to this, and I can do this, and I do have influence in ways, and I need to lean into that and figure out.
Because humility isn't denial,
correct,
right?
Right. It's the leaning into, okay, God, this is scary. I'm not good at this. I can't do this on my own. It's a reliance on Him.
Yeah.
And so that's every week. That's every week for me almost. It's crazy.
Floyd, you come from a culture, we've talked about this, you and I, of high honor.
Yeah.
Where the church culture you come from and the background, there's different, we all get it. There's different church cultures.
For sure. Yeah.
Same Bible, same gospel, same Jesus, different cultures, different value systems.
Right.
And you come from one that really esteems and honors kind of leadership in a good way. But how do you, as a young, I'll just say it this way, up and coming person in ministry, how do you look at that and you look at serving and trying to stay humble and just that whole hairball of stuff? How do you process that?
I will say that there's a philosophical rapper by the name of Kendrick Lamar, and he has a song called like "Be Humble," and one of the lyrics says, "Just sit down and be humble." But in ministry and in life, it's always been like I pursue the next tier. Like, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
What's more? What's my prayer of Jabez? Like, God, enlarge my territory.
Yeah.
But what does that look
Where's
like?
the next larger
Where's
audience,
the
next greater
like,
opportunity?
Cool, you did this. And I also struggle with it on a social media status piece because right now, to be culturally relevant is to have a stronger following.
Right.
So like, I'm guilty. I went into Instagram and there's a feature now where you can hide how many people has liked a post. So it's like, no one knows if 5,000 people or 5 people actually like the post. If it gets around, it just gets around. And you're like, I'm humble. I took the likes off my post, right? But it's always that desire to chase more. And I always have to check myself. It's like, man, is this where God is calling me? Is this next level where God wants me? It's that prayer of, God, your will be done.
Yeah.
Not Floyd's will. Because if Floyd's will is done, I would have all the likes, all the clicks on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and be preaching on the biggest stage across America. That's I think that's a human desire, definitely for me. Just, I want to grow.
Yeah, but it's easy to wrap it in for Jesus.
Oh yeah,
For God's glory.
I get to save more souls. Do you imagine how many souls I can save?
Yeah. Give me my jet. Let's go. Type of thing.
Yeah, I want to preach across the seas, and I need short time to get there.
So do you guys think that social media, and I'm not negative on social media in many ways. Some ways I am, but I'm a user of social media. Is it hard to cultivate true spiritual humility with that in our hands? Like, how do you, with what you're saying, the temptation of checking how many likes we got, and we all do it.
Yeah.
Come on, tell me you post a lot and you never check how many likes you've got. Then I'm like, humility. Maybe you're just a liar, right?
Well, I struggle when I see. So I did a lot of homeless outreach with West End Church of Christ for a number of years.
That's your humble brag, right there.
That's my humble brag there. Just plug that one. I did a lot of.
Is he looking for some affirmation right
That's
now?
right,
Or
that's
some,
I need
some
an
applause?
so good.
I need that. You work with the homeless
Boy,
ministry,
you been
Floyd.
serving?
Man, but I did
Now
that.
we're all like hyper.
Now we're like, what do I say?
Like, what do I say? Yeah, I'll let y'all make it. But when I did that, I would struggle. We'd go out and people would take pictures. They'd take ussies and selfies. And I would struggle with that. It's like, man, you post this picture. What is your desire in this?
Yeah.
Like, are you posting this to say, hey, look, we fed 5,000 people right across the street from Minute Maid Park? Or am I doing this for the like? Am I doing it for the share? Or am I doing it to restore the humanity and the dignity to a person that actually is in need? It's the same thing with social media. I think that no one posts the ugly. No one.
Right.
Every picture, you have so many filters. How many pictures? The average person takes about 6 pictures and posts 1. Like, what? I've done it. No one shows the nasty.
And not that all of that is wrong, but it just can seep in.
Like, we're doing it for something, and it's for, we don't post.
Yeah.
I wouldn't post it if I didn't want the likes.
Yep.
Sure.
Well, let's do this. Let's, in the next few minutes, talk about how do you cultivate humility, if that makes sense to you. And I'll give you an example. For me, one of the ways that I try to do it, and I don't always do this well, but I try to do things that I think God's asking me to do or telling me to do, and just keep it anonymous.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't tell the story. Don't share it with anyone. And part of us wants to share it because we're like, man, look what God did.
That's
or
so awesome.
you know,
Gave it a
let's
credit
share
card
it.
back.
But there's that part of Scott that's like,
Sure.
and the pat on the back thing. So every now and then, I just won't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle.
Oof.
But it's like, I mean, literally, this is going to sound cliche, but I really mean it. It's like, unto you, Lord.
Right.
Yeah.
And no one's going to know but you.
Right.
And maybe the other person on the other side of that, or whatever that, that was. That's one way I try.
That's good. Man, do you have anything?
It is a tough question if you don't really think about it too much.
So I've started doing a grateful list, and I start with that. And one of the things I always look at is like, what's something on this grateful list that I could do for someone else that was done for me? Like, man, I was grateful today. I was grateful that someone just randomly prayed for me. I was grateful on Sunday when someone walked up to me and hit me with a question. I thought they were going to say, hey, how you doing? And my generic, I'm good response was on the table. And they were like, man, how's God blessing you today? And I was like, huh. But I was grateful for that wrecking of my normal routine. So I say that to say I check my list. See, like, what about this? Can I flip on someone else to add to their grateful list? And no one has to know that. That's between me and God. Like,
you're
hey,
doing it,
I'm
and
doing
like
it,
just between you and God,
just to do it. You know, yeah, like that's where it's at.
Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
good.
just, but you have to keep track of it because we do so many things throughout a day. When last time you just stopped in the moment, it's like, I probably need to check myself before I wreck myself right now.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
I'm thinking of just specifically within like work environment. And one of the things that I try to do, we talk about it on our team on occasion, you know, I tend, because I'm the one on stage, right, I tend to get all of the praise and all the, this was awesome, that was good, service was so cool, all the videos, all the elements. And
because you're an amazing video editor.
yeah, because I can do,
do
I don't
it
know
all.
if y'all know this, but I do it all.
Videographer, worship leader, writer,
Whatever. Like there's
many
this whole
hats.
team.
artist,
right?
creative.
It's not just you.
And so, guys, what I try to do is say, you know, Butch
You're actually behind the camera right now
yeah, right.
on this.
And nobody else is running it.
controlling
We
it
did
with
it
a
all.
watch.
I mean, I
watch.
did it all.
Yeah.
We're going
But
to keep
I try
interrupting
to
you.
give credit where the credit is due.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's
Instead of
good.
going, oh man, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Or I say we. We worked really hard on this. Or hey, Butch put that video together. Man, Sway worked so hard on the lighting, and Gabe spent hours. Like I try to let people know.
Yeah.
I'm the one that people come up to say the thank yous and and this is awesome. And I do try to say thank you because I do appreciate it. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so encouraging and affirming and letting us know that we're kind of doing the things that
Yeah.
God's leading us to do.
Yeah.
But then also just to give credit
That's
where
great.
credit's due for sure.
good.
That's awesome.
I think of when I wait at tables, like the back of the house never got the love. When the
Yeah.
food, back of the house never heard anything when the food is good, but they heard everything when the food was
Right.
bad. And then it affected my tip. Like, wait a minute, they're not
Yeah.
gonna tip me because you overcooked that steak.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's amazing. Just how many times we go to the kitchen and just say, it's not me.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys
Yeah.
for joining us today.
That was
Great
super fun.
I
stuff.
feel like we're just getting started, baby.
I know. It feels like we're just getting started, but we'll. I think we'll have you back. I think the vote's already in. The people have
Wow.
sent in their
the people have already
their
voted?
texts
That's good.
to
That's
us. 8675309. Text us at any time.
777.
It's 999. 75309.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Scott.